on the galactic habitat. A rule in 5. There's one rule everyone knows. Do not startle the human during lunch. It's written in 5 languages. It's in the orientation packet, and it glows in yellow letters above the cafeteria entrance. Most species follow this rule, not because humans are violent, but because they have ... reflexes. The kind that once sent a poor technician flying when he sneezed behind a human carrying hot soup. The human apologized, of course. But the lesson was learned. So everyone followed the rules. Almost everyone. It all started on a perfectly normal day. The cafeteria buzzed with the gentle sounds of lunchtime. At the center of it all, at a solitary table, sat human Riley, a maintenance engineer who liked his lunches quiet. He was calmly eating a bowl of noodles, completely absorbed in his tablet, which is precisely when the cubs decided to make their move. These weren't just any cubs. They belonged to the Tri-Paxian delegation. Imagine fluffy, 3-tailed, bright-eyed creatures with the agility of a squirrel and the curiosity of a kitten. They were supposed to be in the nursery. They were not. Instead, 3 of them, Leary, Taka, and Males, scampered into the cafeteria, and before anyone could even think to react, they spotted the human, and they climbed right onto his table. Instantly, the cafeteria froze. A hush fell over the room like a physical wave. Forks stopped midair. Vents suddenly sounded deafening. Every single being in that room locked their eyes on Riley's table, where 3 fluffy cubs now stood right next to his food. One of them leaned over and sniffed the noodles. Another pawed at his tablet. The roundest one, Taka, just sat there, staring up at Riley with the wide-eyed innocence of a creature who had never read a single safety manual. The senior officer whispered in horror, "By the Founders. They're within arm's reach." The universe held its breath. Riley, still reading, hadn't noticed. Then Leary, the boldest cub, let out a tiny sneeze. A little puff of fluff drifted down and landed on Riley's forearm. The entire galaxy collectively winced. Riley blinked, slowly raised his head, and saw 3 fluffy little gremlins staring up at him. The cafeteria braced for impact. Riley stared to cubs, stared back. Every other living thing in the room just stared, waiting for the inevitable explosion. Riley gently set his fork down. He said, "Hi!" A few people gasped. Someone fainted. Confused by the silence, Riley looked around, then back at the cubs. "Small." Leary squeaked and placed 2 tiny paws on Riley's wrist. A horrified elder hissed. No sudden movements. But Riley just smiled. "You guys lost?" Taka sniffed the noodle bowl again. Riley tilted his head. "Are you hungry?" A nearby alien almost screamed, but Riley wasn't moving sharply or loudly. He was calm, controlled, and his voice was soft. Slowly, ceremoniously, he picked up a single noodle and lowered it toward the cubs. They pounced. Riley laughed as he was suddenly buried in a pile of fluff. The cafeteria decided this was it. This was how the ship ended, a tragic tale of a human going feral. But then, Riley looked up from under the pile of cubs and said, "You like fuzzy popcorn." The silence was broken by Ambassador Velion, a tall Tri-Paxian adult, who sprinted into the cafeteria. All 3 of her tails bristled in panic. She saw her cubs ... on the human, who was smiling. Her soul briefly left her body. "Children," she shrieked. "Descend from the human at once." The cubs just chittered back in defiance. Riley shrugged helplessly. "They're fine." "Fine." Velion's voice went up several octaves. Human reflex responses are legendary. Riley just blinked. "I'm not gonna karate shop a baby." Whispers filled the room. Why is he so calm? Is this a courtship ritual? He's feeding them dangerous spices. No, those are noodles. A security officer was already filming from 3 different angles. Eventually, with great difficulty, Ambassador Velian managed to pry the cubs away from Riley. They clung to him, squeaking in protest. Taka even tried to smuggle a noodle. "No," Velian hissed. "We do not eat food from apex predators." Riley tried not to laugh. I can make them something mild later if they want. The ambassador stared at him, stunned. You would cook for our cubs. As she carried them away, Melly reached out dramatically toward Riley, making the most adorable, pathetic sounds. Later that day, Riley found himself in a meeting with the frazzled ambassador, the nervous station director, and a very confused human cultural liaison. The three cubs, having escaped the nursery again, were clinging to his boot. So, Riley asked carefully, did I accidentally adopt them? No. The ambassador yelped. The liaison cleared her throat. Well, technically, offering food to a Tri-Paxian child is culturally adjacent to offering long-term social mentorship. Riley stared. Social mentorship. Belian slumped in her chair. In our culture, Tisim Bolbis, much reverence. They will now view you as an aspirational guide. They may attempt to follow you, learn from you, mimic you, climb on you. Riley looked down. All three cubs were already on him. Yeah, he sighed. I noticed, over the next few days, something amazing happened. The cubs started following Riley everywhere. They waited outside engineering. They napped on his tool crates. They even started mimicking him. When Riley fixed a conduit, the cubs tried to fix one with foam training tools. Engineering it quickly made. When he carried a toolbox, they dragged tiny ones behind him. The entire station melted. A VRRKT elder whispered, perhaps the humans are the galaxy's great caretakers. Another replied, or perhaps the cubs adopted him. But peace can never last. The Coran trade delegation arrived, a species of towering, armored, humorless diplomats who hated noise. Their ambassador Graxel walked into the cafeteria just as the cubs leaped onto Riley's shoulders. Graxel growled, there are rules about unsupervised juveniles. Riley nodded calmly. They're supervised. By you. Graxel scoffed. A single human. Riley raised an eyebrow. Humans supervise human toddlers. I think I can handle 3 fluff balls. The cubs hissed defensively. Graxel snarled. Control your creatures, human. The cafeteria braced itself again. Everyone knew humans had to danger states. Startled and offended on behalf of small creatures, Riley stood up, the cubs on the table in front of him. He crossed his arms. They're not creatures. They're cubs, and you're scaring them. Graxel leaned forward. Their noise is part of being children. Riley cut in, his voice becoming cold. If you have a problem with that, take it up with your ambassador. Don't yell at kids. A tiny sound interrupted the tense standoff. Taka, the roundest cub, stepped between Graxel and Riley, puffed himself up like a brave little warrior, and let out a trembling squeak. The room turned to ice. Riley looked down at the cub, then slowly back at Graxel. Back off, he said, very, very quietly. You're making them feel unsafe. Something deep in Graxel's instincts flinched. He took a step back, then another, before retreating in humiliated silence. The moment he left, the cafeteria erupted in cheers. That night, Riley sat in his quarters with the cubs. Guys, you gotta stop climbing on my furniture. They just thumped their tails in unison. He sighed as they climbed all over him. I'm a jungle gym. God Italiano. He knew he should return them, but they looked so warm, so small, and so trusting. He leaned back. Fine, you can stay for a few minutes. 5 minutes later, all 3 were fast asleep on him. Riley whispered to the empty room. How did I become a space babysitter? By the end of the week, the story was a station-wide legend. There were memes, artwork, even a children's book draft. And in the cafeteria, every day at noon, the cubs would march in, climb onto Riley's table, and wait for their mentor time. The cafeteria still froze, but now it was in anticipation. Riley would greet them with a grin. Ready for lunch? Across the room, Ambassador Velian would sigh fondly. Human Riley, you have no idea how much you've changed their lives. He'd just shrugged. They changed mine, too. And so, lunch proceeded in peace. 3 happy cubs, perched near a human who was once considered a reflex danger. Now, he was their safe place. Everyone learned something important that week. Sometimes, the scariest species is also the most gentle, and sometimes, all it takes to rewrite an interspecies reputation is 3 fluffy cubs climbing onto a human's table. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Everyone on Galactic Habitat Arlen 5 agreed. You mean Riley had accidentally become a cultural icon? Not officially, of course, but unofficially, the story of how he defended the 3 Tri-Paxian cubs, Melly, and Taka had spread across 3 sectors in under a week. Riley, however, just wanted to eat his noodles in peace. It all started with a message on his datapad. Urgent report to Tri-Paxian embassy. Bring cubs. Bring a snack. Riley blinked. Why this snack? Just then, his door chimed, followed by a soft hump. He opened it to find the 3 cubs in a tumbled heap, having tried to stack themselves to reach the chime. He sighed, scooped them up, and headed for the embassy. The embassy meeting room was packed. Ambassador Velian looked stressed. Human Riley, she said. We face a crisis. Riley looked at the cubs clinging to him. Should they be here for that? Velian's tails trembled. They are the crises. An elder Tri-Paxian with silver-dusted fur stepped forward. Honored human, she said, bowing. Our cubs have begun emulating you. A hologram flickered to life, showing security footage. There were the cubs, trying to lift a giant wrench, then marching behind a janitor, then trying to fist bump an aquatic alien through a water tank, and finally, slurping noodles from Riley's plate. Riley groaned. Oh no, they're learning from me. Velia nodded gravely. Yes, and they have begun teaching other cubs. The display shifted to show 8 more younglings, imitating human stretching and shouting tiny war cries. The room buzzed with debate. We must curb the influence. No, human mentorship is prestigious, but the cubs are trying to fight furniture now. Velian silenced the chamber. Riley, the cubs respect you. We need your help. The elder inhaled deeply. We need you to teach them how to be calm. Riley almost laughed. Me. Calm. The entire room nodded. Then, the elder continued. We formally request you lead the mentorship ceremony. You must help them find their inner voice, their spirit sound. Riley stared. Their what? The elder said gravely. Their roar. In a small, dojo-like room, Riley knelt before the 3 excited cubs. Okay, team, he said. Roaring is about confidence, not volume. You just have to be heard. He demonstrated a soft human roar, more like a steady RRH. The cubs tried. Riri. Hara. Ta-ha-ha. Close enough. Good. Again, the roars grew louder. Again, they were getting the hang of it. Okay, Riley said. Now the real test. Give me your ladus produs drawer. They inhaled dramatically, and what came out was so high-pitched the ceiling lights flickered. Riley clapped. Nailed it. Of course, the noise attracted the Corin delegation. The hulking warrior Graxel stormed in. What is this racket? It sounds like a malfunctioning engine. Riley sighed. We're practicing confidence. Graxel sneered. Tri-Paxian. Confidence. Impossible. Leary growled. Melly stomped her tiny foot. You want to repeat that? Riley asked, crossing his arms. Graxel repeated his insult, calling the cubs loud and small. Riley crouched beside them. You 3 ready? He whispered. They chirped, eagerly. 1. 3. They squeaked with the force of 3 miniature supernovas. Graxel staggered back and fell on his rear, his armor rattling. He stared up in existential confusion as Riley offered him a hand. You Train them well, Graxel muttered. The official ceremony was held in the main hall. The cubs stepped forward, took a deep breath, and let out something new. A sound born of pride and human encouragement. Rarasquiriri! The crowd gasped, then cheered. The elders stepped forward. Human Riley, your role as mentor is now formally recognized. A document appeared on a date. Human Riley, honorary cub, mentor of Tri-Paxian Sector 7. Riley groaned. This is going on my file, isn't it? Within 24 hours. The consequences were station-wide. The cubs walked prouder. A Koran warrior asked for human confidence training. AV. RKT. Elder asked. Riley, Tarana, calm breathing class. Rumors spread humans can teach courage. Riley insisted, I'm literally just doing baby yoga with aliens. No one believed him. That night, after finally getting home, he smiled. Yeah, he said softly. They're good kids. And this was only the beginning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for part 3. Some people wake up to gentle music, a sunrise, or the calming hum of a station's life support systems. Riley woke up to Human Riley. Wake at once. We require your presence before a diplomatic incident erupts. He fell out of bed. Hard. 3 Tri-Paxian cubs immediately leapt onto him because, of course, they de-escaped the nursery against squeaking encouragement as if falling flat on his face were a heroic act. Riley groaned into the floor. Velian, what time is it? 6:32. In the morning. Yes. Riley stared at her, blankly. Why? The ambassador sighed deeply. Because 2 delegations have begun posturing for conflict on our station, and they refuse to speak to anyone but you. Riley blinked. Twice. Mevelian nodded. You have been requested, Taka. Squeaked proudly, as if he had requested his mentor personally. Riley rubbed his temples. What stupid thing did I do this time? The conflict was between the Koran Trade Delegational Armored Muscle, sharp teeth, and short tempers, and the VRRKT Engineering Guild small, insectoid, and brilliant, but easily offended. The 2 groups faced each other across the station is a grand concuse, separated only by a line of exhausted security officers. Graxel, the Koran leader, snarled. The VRRKT sabotaged our shipment. The VRRKT elder screeched. Your people dropped the crate on our autoplaner. Your machine was in the walkway. It was clearly labeled. Then Riley arrived, in pajamas, a jacket thrown on backwards, and 3 Tri-Paxian cubs, clinging to him like fuzzy brooches. Everyone fell silent. Eyes turned. One of the cubs yawned adorably. Riley rubbed his eyes. I was told someone needed help. Riley stepped between the 2 delegations. He didn't shout. He didn't posture. He just sighed the long, disappointed sigh used by parents and teachers everywhere. Everyone flinched. Security cameras recorded it as human-induced shame wave number 3. Graxel pointed accusingly. Human Riley. No, Riley said. Graxel froze. He had never been knowed before. The VRRKT elder clicked indignantly. But the Koran? No, Riley repeated. He crossed his arms. Okay, one at a time. Slowly. No roaring, no screeching. Graxel huffed like a reprimanded child. We were transporting delicate machinery. The VRRKT put an autoplaner in the walkway. We tripped. The crate fell. They blame us. Riley nodded. Okay. Berked Elder, your turn. The Elder chittered. The walkway was not blocked. The Koran were moving recklessly. They triggered every proximity alert. Riley exhaled. So you both messed up. Both delegations gasped. Graxel stammered. We did. Riley raised one eyebrow. You didn't check your path, he told the Koran. And you didn't make your machine visible enough, he told the VRRKT. Graxel blinked. Oh. The V-R-K-T. We did not consider core and sensor calibration. Congratulations, Riley said, clapping his hands. You both made reasonable mistakes. So now, you're going to fix it together. Graxel looked horrified. The VRRK. Tielda? Histon alarm? The cubs squeaked approvingly. Riley pointed at them. They think you can do it. Don't disappoint them. Both delegations visibly wilted. Somehow, Riley had them working side by side in minutes. The Koren lifted heavy machinery. The VRRKT calibrated tools. Riley supervised like a middle school project moderator. Graxel, slow your pace. You're kicking dust at the VRRKT. VRRKT Eldor. No stabbing with your measuring spikes. No Taka. You cannot eat the spare cables. An hour later, the walkway was fixed, and both delegations were exchanging awkward nods. Riley pointed at them sternly. Good. Now, shake hands. Claws. Mandibles. Whatever. They hesitated. The cubs glared. They shook. Just when Riley thought he could go back to bed, Graxel approached. Human Riley, I have a request. We Koren lack confidence rituals for our young. Your cubs show strength, pride, unity. We wish to learn. Riley blinked. Yuan, roar training. AV. R. KT engineer perked up. Can we attend breathing class? I require emotional stability protocols. Another volunteered. Riley stared at the expanding crowd. Guys, I'm not a teacher. I'm an engineer. Leary climbed onto his shoulder, squeaking. Taka headbutted his knee. Graxel placed a heavy hand over his chest. We believe in your guidance. Riley sighed. Fine, I'll run a class. The concourse erupted into cheers. They held the session in a gym. It filled instantly. Koren warriors sat beside VRRK. Engineers. Riley stood awkwardly on the mat. Okay, so we're going to learn basic humor-style calming, confidence, and communication exercises. First, he said, breathing. He inhaled. The entire room inhaled. He exhaled. The entire room exhaled. Second, stretching. A ripple of flailing appendages tried to imitate him. Third, confidence posture. The cubs puffed into proud. Graxel straightened. Fourth, roaring. The room tensed. Not loud, Riley said. Just expressing yourself. He demonstrated a soft, controlled roar. The cubs imitated him perfectly. Graxel tried and shook the floor. The VRKT whistled. For a brief, surreal moment, the entire station roared in unity. Halfway through, the station director burst in, his face pale. Whatever. This is the... He froze. Hundreds of aliens sat peacefully, meditating, breathing, roaring softly. Riley waved. Morning, director. We're doing confidence class. The director slowly backed out of the room. Carry on, he whispered. After class, Ambassador Velion approached. The Tri-Paxian Council has issued a directive titled, In honor of the human mentor and his 3 roaring apprentices, you are all officially recognized as ambassadors of interspecies mentorship. Riley covered his face. Me too. Yes, Velion said, mostly because we cannot stop the cubs from following you anyway. By evening, the conflict was over. The station director updated security guidelines. If in doubt, bring the human. And Riley, he sat in the cafeteria with 3 cubs beside him like royal stewards. "Guys," he murmured, "I'm not fixing every problem on this station." The cubs squeaked. "R, R, R, R."